promising 16-year-old's future shattered in an instant.
Amanda was begging for her life when he pulled the trigger.
Ominous theories continue to swirl around the shocking crime.
There was a lot of discussion about whether or not it had been really a robbery or maybe it was something more sinister.
This was a hired hit that we were dealing with.
But detectives refused to rest until Amanda Puckett's killer was brought to justice.
I got an arrest warrant for felony murder, malice murder, and early in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, we hit this house.
Hi, I'm Nancy O'Dell. Today's crime expose takes us to Marietta, Georgia, a quiet suburb just a few miles north of Atlanta. It was known as an idyllic place to raise a family, but when a teenager was gunned down in broad daylight, the horrific crime paralyzed the community with fear and sent investigators down a twisted path to put a cold-blooded killer behind bars. It was a scorching hot afternoon when a shop owner heard a gunshot coming from the jewelry store next door.
She heard a loud pop, a loud noise, and she looked out the front window of her store and saw what she described as a short Asian male running away from the jewelry store.
She ran next door and was horrified to find the jewelry store owner's daughter, Amanda Puckett, lying in a pool of blood.
It was determined she had a gunshot wound to the head.
She immediately called 911.
Hello? I'm getting 911 up for the bed. Yes, we need to help. I think somebody's what? Oh, we need ambulance. What happened? The jewelry store owner is laying on the ground. You better send a medical emergency immediately. Okay. Okay.
When first responders arrived, the 16-year-old was barely clinging to life. As paramedics rushed Amanda to the hospital, detectives quickly located witnesses who had seen the gunman running from the store.
Most of the witnesses in the parking lot saw this individual, a shorter Asian male. He got into a white Isuzu rodeo and fled the scene.
A be on the lookout was immediately issued for the vehicle.
That bolo went out right away on that afternoon. I mean, right away. And there were patrol cars from every agency sitting on the interstate, sitting everywhere. And anything that was white that looked like a rodeo got stopped.
While officers combed the streets for the SUV, forensic specialists searched for clues.
We had a small confined area there at the front of the jewelry store. And there was some jewelry scattered out on the floor. And you could see the area of blood where the victim had been laying behind the counter. And we just locked it down, and I asked the crime scene techs, responded up there.
Paperwork had been strewn on the floor, and a jewelry drawer had been left wide open. The area was dusted for prints.
There were several prints lifted at the scene, finger and palm prints.
Investigators believe the teenager had been looking down the barrel of the killer's gun just moments before she was shot.
Pulled the trigger on that gun and shot her in the head.
What theory did you have about how the crime unfolded?
You try not, as an investigator, you try not to prejudge it, so to speak. You're wide open for anything. But you had a jewelry store. And you have items scattered there. So your first inclination is it's a robbery, and it's a robbery gone bad.
It was then Amanda's loved ones discovered she had not survived. So you were actually at the hospital when Amanda's parents got the heartbreaking news. How difficult of a moment was that?
Dealing with the tragedy. I mean, sometimes you just have to put your game face on. But dealing with the families, especially in this kind of case, I'll never forget. I can remember like it was yesterday being in that hospital waiting room that afternoon. It was a hot, hot day. I was a young dad then. I'm thinking to myself, my gosh, this girl's 16 years old. It was just senseless. What's fair about that? I teared up in the hospital. I had to go in there and look at that little girl, and it was tough.
Just hours before, the rising high school senior had been playing powder puff football with her friends. Amanda had offered to help out at her mother's jewelry store while her mom worked as a translator.
She translated Vietnamese because that was her home country. She did that in the Cobb courts, and that particular day her mom was doing translation at a federal trial in Atlanta.
Outgoing and incredibly hardworking, Amanda had always been happy to fill in whenever needed.
She was very engaging and very excited about working there, and was very interactive with the customers, and did a really good job of representing the store. And earlier that day she had been in a powder puff football game. She was very active socially at the school. She was evidently a very good student.
But her life had been tragically cut short, and detectives were determined to bring her killer to justice.
I can remember thinking, we've got to get this one. It's got to be, all hands on deck, and we got to get some answers here. It became a mission for me that we were going to get this resolved.
"16-year-old Amanda Puckett had been shot execution style while helping out at her mother's jewelry store.
Here's a young, innocent 16-year-old girl who had all of her life in front of her, evidently was very well liked and very well known, was a kid who had a lot of future. She was the kind of kid you could see growing up and maybe becoming something much bigger than even she probably realized. She had the smarts, she had the personality, and all of those things together just compound the horror.
The entire community demanded answers.
The fellow students at Sprayberry High School held rallies to draw attention to the crime. They put out posters. They went door to door with flyers trying to get information. It certainly was extremely upsetting for anyone who knew Amanda, or anyone who was a schoolmate or a friend or a neighbor even.
And the jewelry left behind at the scene only added to the mystery surrounding the brazen attack.
The fact that she had been murdered, and in the fashion that she was murdered, by being shot in the back of the head, that nothing was taken from the store, made everyone on edge, because if that could happen in East Cobb County, what's next? That's a pretty shocking thing to have happen in basically a leafy suburban neighborhood.
With nothing stolen from the store, a terrifying possibility remained.
There was a lot of discussion about whether or not it had been really a robbery, or maybe it was something more sinister.
FBI agents were convinced Amanda's murder was connected to her mother's work as a translator on a racketeering case.
It was a federal trial going on at the federal courthouse in downtown Atlanta. It was a RICO case involving some Asian gang members. At that time, we had a rash of extortion cases involving Asian gang members. They were preying on Asian businesses, nail salons, Asian restaurants, essentially protection money.
Which led law enforcement to focus on a shocking theory.
There was a faction of folks, including some in my chain of command, that had become convinced in those first 48 hours that this was a hired hit, that we were dealing with retaliation or a message to Amanda Puckett.
Investigators pressed their network of informants looking for any leads.
We expanded that and worked with the FBI, did some interviews with some of the gang members that had pled guilty in the case.
They questioned a number of imprisoned gang members at the federal penitentiary here in Atlanta and other places.
But authorities couldn't find anything to connect Amanda's murder to the racketeering trial.
Nothing that panned out.
and the details of the crime left detectives doubting that a hitman had committed the crime.
If this is a hired hit, it is the sloppiest hired hit that I've ever been involved in. Broad daylight, in a vehicle that could easily be identified, and he just walks into a business and takes a shot. The wound itself was concerning to me because it just was not close range, and it looked like there had been an initial struggle. So from my standpoint, my experience, it just didn't appear to be a clean hit to me. And that doesn't mean it wasn't, but there was pushback from everywhere that, hey, this has got to be coming from this trial. This is related to the mom.
Then the lab came back with their analysis of the prints found on the jewelry case.
There were prints identified at the scene that we had run through the state system, APHIS system. We identified 2 of the sets of prints as coming from Amanda Puckett and her mother, which, it's not unusual. They worked in the business.
But a crucial print had been left behind.
Where was that print found?
We had a palm print on top of the display case, and Amanda was right on the other side of the jewelry case where the palm print was. So it was almost as if the palm print's down, the killer raises himself up, reaches over, he's got the gun, you've got an awkward angled shot to the side of the head.
Armed with their evidence, detectives ramped up their investigation.
We've got to come up with our killer, our suspect, or somebody at least we can compare it to.
Based on all of the clues, detectives investigating Amanda Puckett's murder believed a dangerous gunman was on the loose in their community.
I felt like it was an armed robbery. Most likely the killer had been by the store, or he may have known or seen that there was a young girl working in there and may have thought this a soft target, easy cash, and it went bad inside, and he ended up shooting and killing the little girl.
Officers located a witness who had seen a suspicious man in a white Isuzu rodeo shortly before Amanda's murder.
With another lady, turned out to be a key witness later, that there was a white rodeo was parked up the top of the parking lot, and it looked like a male sitting inside, and he had a pair of binoculars, and he was scanning the store.
Detectives contacted the car company hoping for a lead.
So I asked them for a printout of every white Isuzu rodeo that had been sold in the southeastern United States. They sent me this big, huge packet. It was hundreds of vehicles on there.
Locating the killer's vehicle was critical to their case.
The key thing was the vehicle, the Isuzu rodeo. I thought whoever did this in that vehicle lived close by. So I felt like we were looking for somebody close by that was able to get out of the shopping center, drive a few miles, and get the car hid in a garage or behind a house somewhere. When we thought that rodeo was the key to the entire thing.
Then a young woman called police with a tip. She said a boy named Gabriel had revealed the killer's identity.
Gabriel had told this girl that his dad had been involved in what happened at that jewelry store.
We came back to my grandpa's house. First thing I know was the last time I see my dad, and I knew something happened. I knew my dad did something really wrong.
The man's name was Eugenio Quijano, and when detectives dug into his background, a picture of the killer slowly came into focus.
When I started doing the background on that family, I found that they had been renting a house off Rio Montana Drive, which is maybe a mile and a half from that store.
Did you believe that was the lead you had been hoping for?
That was very promising. Remember, I felt like we were looking for someone close by. We went down and interviewed Gabriel Quijano's girlfriend, and she gave us the names. So I go back to my list, and I find Eugenio Quijano on this list.
At the time of Amanda's murder, Quijano had owned a white Isuzu rodeo, but had sold it shortly after Amanda's murder.
I wanted to find, where's the vehicle now?
The car was quickly located, and forensic examiners searched it for clues.
Did you find any evidence in the car?
No, we didn't find anything of any significance.
The setback only focused their investigation, and they brought Quijano's son Gabriel in for questioning. Gabriel revealed his father had confessed and said Amanda's murder had been the result of a botched robbery. Gabriel also told police his father had asked him to get rid of the murder weapon.
The son's role in it evidently was disposing of the murder weapon.
What did your grandfather tell you that he did? He just told me to get rid of it. Get rid of what? The gun. Took like all that sewing thing for a metal, sewed metal.
A hacksaw?
Yeah, took that and hammered it, broke it, took it out in pieces, threw every piece in different places.
When Quijano was brought to the station, he refused to talk. But when they matched his palm print to the evidence found at the scene, it solidified their case against him.
That was a huge moment for us. That palm print was huge. It was clearly Quijano's palm print.
At the trial, prosecutors presented their theory of how the crime had unfolded.
He was going to rob that jewelry store thinking it was going to be an easy hit. It's tragic, but I think he thought she would be an easy victim.
The courtroom was silent as the witness took the stand and described in detail what she had seen that afternoon.
She was like spot on and pointed at him. She pointed at him and she said, "That's who I saw running from that store."
After hours of testimony, justice for Amanda Puckett was now in the hands of jurors.
It was a chilling moment.
Two years after Amanda Puckett's shocking murder, Quijano was convicted and sentenced to life in prison. For Amanda's family, it was the end of a long and painful road, but they say they will be forever grateful to law enforcement for bringing Amanda's killer to justice. And now, it's time for today's Safety Spotlight. While we often feel safe in our everyday spaces like the workplace, a crime can occur anywhere. Our situational awareness can keep us safe in the face of violence in even the most unexpected of places. If something feels off or you sense danger, trust your instincts and take action to protect yourself. Have a safety plan in place, including knowing how to contact emergency services and having a list of emergency contacts nearby. Some phones have SOS buttons that can be triggered with a single push, and of course, you can always call 911. I'm Nancy O'Dell. For all of us here at Crime Exposé, please join us next time and stay safe.